REVALED. Get ready for an insightful exploration of the 10 concealed truths that survivors of narcissistic abuse must uncover. We'll delve into the untold experiences of individuals who have confronted narcissistic abuse, including their trials and remarkable resilience. 1. Recovery for survivors of narcissistic abuse is a prolonged journey. Survivors of narcissistic abuse often navigate a whirlwind of intense emotions, which can be challenging to handle. Mental health experts and psychologists explain that this emotional rollercoaster is a common response to the trauma inflicted by narcissistic abuse. Clinical psychologist Dr. Romani Derasa notes that those who have endured narcissistic abuse frequently undergo profound emotional turmoil as a result of manipulation and psychological games. It's akin to rapidly changing the settings on an emotional treadmill. Consequently, emotional fluctuations are a typical aspect of survivors' journeys as they strive to heal and make sense of their ordeals. 2. Survivors of narcissistic abuse grapple with trust issues. In response to the intense emotional distress they've experienced, survivors of narcissistic abuse often devise various coping strategies. These strategies can range from maladaptive behaviors to constructive approaches. For instance, some survivors may resort to overeating or excessive alcohol consumption as a means of numbing the emotional pain caused by the abuse. Psychiatrist Dr. Judith Orloff asserts that survivors may also cultivate healthier coping mechanisms, such as seeking therapy, practicing self-care, and building a support network. While initial coping mechanisms like overeating or drinking may provide temporary relief, it's crucial for survivors to transition to more constructive approaches to aid their recovery and regain control over their lives. 3. Survivors of narcissistic abuse experience social isolation. It's common for survivors of narcissistic mistreatment to endure a profound sense of social isolation. Psychologists emphasize that narcissists are skilled at isolating survivors from their support networks, making it challenging for them to seek help. Additionally, many survivors distance themselves from friends and family due to fear of judgment or embarrassment about their ordeal. Therapist Dr. Jessica Zucker explains that survivors often isolate themselves as a protective mechanism against further harm. While isolation can be incredibly taxing, it's an understandable response to narcissistic abuse, as Dr. Romani Derasa suggests. Reconnecting with their support networks is essential for survivors to embark on the path to recovery. Thus, even though it may seem that survivors isolate themselves intentionally, this behavior is often driven by their abuse and a survival instinct. 4. Survivors of narcissistic abuse grapple with unwarranted guilt and self-blame. Survivors of narcissistic abuse frequently harbor unnecessary guilt and self-reproach. Narcissists excel at manipulating their victims into taking responsibility for their own suffering. Survivors might come to the conclusion that they must have made a mistake for such abuse to occur. Gaslighting, a technique employed by narcissists to distort the survivor's reality, plays a role in triggering feelings of guilt and self-doubt. Renowned psychiatrist Dr. Judith Herman explains that trauma survivors may internalize guilt as a coping mechanism to regain a sense of control in a chaotic and uncertain environment. Those who have endured narcissistic abuse may view their feelings of guilt and self-blame as a shield against the harsh realities they have faced. 5. Narcissistic abuse survivors fear recurring patterns. Survivors often grapple with persistent self-doubt stemming from the relentless criticism and manipulation inflicted by narcissists. Seeking professional assistance and therapy is crucial to overcoming this emotional turmoil. The process of resolving self-doubt is a significant hurdle on the journey to rebuilding confidence and self-esteem. 6. Survivors of narcissistic abuse strive to rebuild their self-esteem. Restoring self-esteem in the aftermath of narcissistic abuse is akin to piecing together a shattered mirror. Psychologists often stress that survivors undergo a transformative journey as they rediscover their self-worth and rekindle self-love. It's like solving a puzzle where they slowly recover the missing pieces and rebuild their self-confidence. Psychologist Dr. Kristen Neff highlights the importance of self-compassion, which entails treating oneself with the same understanding and kindness as one would offer a dear friend. Survivors must practice self-compassion throughout this process, nurturing their fragile sense of self like tending to a delicate plant. Thus, reconstructing self-esteem demands not only persistence, but also self-compassion and patience. 7. Survivors of narcissistic abuse develop adaptive coping mechanisms. The profound emotional and psychological scars inflicted by narcissistic relationships frequently lead survivors to struggle with issues of trust. According to Dr. Romani Derasa, it's vital for survivors to take their time in rebuilding confidence in themselves and others. 8. Survivors of narcissistic abuse may experience PTSD-like symptoms. Enduring the consequences of traumatic events related to abuse can lead to mental health complications similar to those seen in PTSD. Seeking support and rehabilitation is essential for survivors to progress and heal. 9. Survivors of narcissistic abuse battle persistent self-doubt. Understanding why survivors of narcissistic abuse often dread the recurrence of similar patterns is crucial. This fear, as psychologists explain, stems from the profound emotional wounds inflicted by narcissistic abuse. Survivors may become hyper-vigilant, constantly on the lookout for potential partners and warning signs. They fear being trapped in another toxic dynamic. Additionally, as Dr. Les Carter, an expert in toxic relationships and narcissism, notes, the emotional trauma caused by narcissists can erode the self-esteem and judgment of survivors, making them more susceptible to abusive partners. Survivors are apprehensive about the cycle repeating because they do not want to relive the pain and devastation they've experienced before. They work diligently to break the cycle of abuse because they desire happier, healthier relationships. 10. Survivors of narcissistic abuse encounter emotional turmoil. Survivors of narcissistic abuse typically embark on a lengthy recovery journey marked by profound emotional scars. It's essential to allocate time for healing and addressing these wounds. Dr. Romani compares the recovery process to peeling back the layers of an onion, a gradual and ongoing journey. Dr. Judith Orloff, a psychiatrist, emphasizes that recovering from narcissistic abuse is more like a marathon than a sprint. This protracted process often requires the support of a social network and therapy. However, it's important to recognize that as survivors rebuild their lives and rediscover their sense of self, they emerge as remarkably resilient and empowered individuals. Understanding that the healing process is individual and time-consuming is crucial to provide survivors with the empathy and support they need throughout their recovery journey. Keep in mind that recovery is a gradual and iterative process. These survivors are actively working to reclaim their lives and find happiness. If you find value in this video, please express your appreciation by liking and subscribing to this channel. For an opportunity to expand your knowledge, please view another insightful video. Only in this way, a narcissist's body will immediately vibrate because they are afraid of you. Have you ever found yourself ensnared in a manipulative game orchestrated by a narcissist, continually reacting to their capricious mood swings and desires? You're not alone in this struggle. When a narcissist can manipulate your emotions and actions, they see it as a display of power and dominance. They wield the ability to dictate your happiness or misery based on their immediate whims. But what if you could turn the tables and reclaim control? What if you made the choice not to engage or respond? Today, we'll delve deep into why narcissists fear your silence and how this empowering decision can reshape your interactions with them. Before we proceed, we want you to know that we're here to offer more personalized assistance. If you're dealing with a narcissist in your life, our support is available for as little as $1 a week. Click the link in the description below to embark on your journey toward healing and liberation. Now, let's uncover the intricacies of employing stillness within a relationship with a narcissist. You've probably experienced those moments when they abruptly cease communication with you. Let's be honest, it happens more often than we'd like, and each time, it feels like a gut-wrenching blow, doesn't it? To truly understand the power of silence, we must first comprehend why narcissists opt not to speak. How can they effortlessly transition from showering you with attention to withdrawing and leaving you in isolation? Narcissists engage in this behavior for multiple reasons. Firstly, it's deeply rooted in their unyielding pride. They staunchly believe that everything they say and do is correct, and they adamantly avoid taking responsibility for any wrongdoing, regardless of its severity or impact on your well-being. Consequently, if you challenge them, expose their lies, confront them about their harmful actions, or attempt to engage in an open conversation about your feelings, they'll shut you out and refuse to communicate. They simply cannot confront the truth. They are acutely aware that opening up would tarnish their self-image, yet they lack the emotional capacity to confront this reality. It's crucial to keep in mind that their projected semblance of caring about you is insincere. Another reason for their use of the silent treatment is to manipulate and inflict harm upon you. Surprisingly, their silence can be an incredibly potent tool for making you question yourself and sowing self-doubt. You may have encountered situations where you presented an opposing viewpoint to the narcissist, backed by indisputable facts. However, their ego refuses to acknowledge the truth, opting instead for gaslighting and invalidating your perspective. The narcissist possesses a cunning ability to manipulate every situation in their favor. They may even shift blame onto you during an argument, leaving you bewildered and perplexed, struggling to comprehend what just occurred. Regardless of the underlying issue, they ensure that you bear the blame and punish you through their silent treatment. This silence endures until one of two scenarios unfolds. You apologize or pledge never to raise the issue again. Narcissists vehemently dislike confronting their past, becoming defensive and aggrieved even when past events, no matter how recent, are mentioned. But what if you desire to alter the dynamics of this game? What if you choose to disengage from them in terms of communication? What would happen if you demonstrated the consequences they deserved? Allow me to provide you with an answer. They will become terrified. Why, you may ask? Because narcissists understand they have pushed the boundaries too far and crossed a line when you refuse to engage with them, denying them the satisfaction of a reaction. The prospect of your absence, the fear of no longer being able to manipulate you, the understanding that you are no longer responsive, or the possibility of losing you strikes fear into their hearts. Merely the concept of silence and withdrawal presents a significant threat to a narcissist. However, there's a crucial point to consider. Narcissists can never bid farewell. Reflect on all the unresolved conflicts from the past for a moment. Each instance of their sudden silence initiates a new argument without resolution, endlessly cycling in a continuous loop because they lack the ability to genuinely conclude matters. When you opt not to respond, they promptly grasp that they have crossed a line. Despite their anger and efforts to manipulate or provoke you into resuming communication, they understand that your silence results from their behaviors towards you. They recognize that discussing their wrongdoings with you will necessitate providing an explanation and seeking resolution, which places them under immense stress. You may wonder whether choosing silence and letting them face the consequences makes you a cruel person. Rest assured, you are not. Your intention is not to inflict harm upon them, but rather to protect yourself and ensure that you receive the answers you rightfully deserve. Selecting silence might be a means for you to alleviate your own pain. Let's confront the truth. You have likely endured numerous cycles of silent treatment throughout your relationship with the narcissist. But why do they resort to silence? It is rooted in their inability to form genuine connections or communicate effectively, not just with you but with others as well. However, it is crucial not to use silence as a tool for harming them. Instead, employ it when you have exhausted all other options. You've attempted to reason with them, expressed your genuine emotions, and held them accountable for their actions, yet nothing has yielded positive results. The narcissist thrives on the satisfaction of always coming out as the victor, delighting in the confusion they cause to gain your attention and evoke feelings of internal distress. Once you grasp this, you'll realize that you have explored every avenue and have said everything that needs to be said, ultimately leading you to the decision to be silent. The first step in regaining control over yourself is acknowledging that maintaining a toxic relationship with a narcissist only serves their interests. Your efforts to shape them to your desires are futile, consuming your time and energy. Instead, shift your focus towards yourself and prioritize your well-being. Let me be unequivocal. Nothing you say or do can improve the dynamics between you and this toxic individual. Engaging in conversation only fuels their desire for perpetual conflict. By choosing silence, you not only benefit yourself, but also trigger a significant response from the narcissist, paving the way to liberate yourself from their grip once and for all. Thank you for watching, and stay vigilant for those unmistakable signs. Keep your senses sharp, remain resilient and courageous, and embark on the journey to live your best life starting today.